We have editing again. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I say that because we officially have editing again, sort of. I'm very excited because I found that my laptop, of all things, actually had its own video editor. But the weird thing is that it actually lags a lot, so I installed Premiere on mine, and even though it lags, it's smoother anyway, to have all of that on the laptop, even if it's also going to lag. But either way, with a little bit of patience, it's a little rough, but I can edit from home, which means we have edited videos again. So that means we can finally... Oh, okay, looks like I'm still a little rough with the editing. It's been a while. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It's fine. So today, we're going to be talking about Jumanji: The Next Level. I was going to review Scoob and then realized it was $20 to rent and wasn't going to do that because from what I've heard, it's not great. I still want to watch it and I still want to review it at some point, but when it's not $20. So I have been watching some that have come out more recently, but aren't that much to rent. Jumanji was like $4, so that was better. Jumanji: The Next Level is, if you've seen the first one, it's got the same cast. It's got The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, Danny DeVito, and Danny Glover. So I got a bunch of Dannys in there. Alex Wolff. You've got a bunch of the other. I think he was the most known out of the kids in the first one from Hereditary and the Naked Brothers band. And this is still so much of a fun ride of a movie. Starting off with some of the good stuff, it's hilarious. I mean, the first one, I was very surprised because I thought it was just going to be stupid from the way it looked. It wasn't going to take itself as seriously as the original Jumanji, but it was very fun. It's a very fun family movie. It's funny. It has some genuinely good moments that I'm very happy because Jack Black was becoming so irrelevant, and I was like, no, we need more of Jack Black. As my mom puts it, it's Jack Black, but he's not Jack Blacking it up. You know how, dude, he doesn't do that. So that's great. And that brings me to the best point of these movies is that it's these actors playing, kind of making fun of themselves in these roles. I mean, The Rock in the first one plays who is supposed to be this weenie kid, The Rock, and Jack Black plays a girl, and Kevin Hart plays somebody who in the real world is supposed to be this big burly athlete. Kevin Hart's smaller, and so it's a very fun concept. And in this one, they switch it up a little bit. This one takes like the adage of if it's not broke, don't fix it. And they take it and they're able to do it again, but this time switch it up a little bit so you have the same formula, but it's not just the same exact thing over and over. And it's very cool because you get to see a different side of all of the actors playing all these different, like with different accents and things like that. You get more interesting quirks. So it's the same movie with some variations, and that's good because it's a very good happy medium. The one thing about the movie that was interesting to me, this is a very movie in the middle component of this film, is that the villain is not great. I mean, the villain in the first one wasn't really that great. It's really not about the villains, actually. It's more about them trying to get out of Jumanji. On one side, you need to have a good, strong villain, usually, because that's what's going to drive the movie, the stakes. And in this one, I felt like even if the villain, you don't have to have, this incredibly complex villain, the stakes for me they were there, but they weren't explained very well. The whole mission itself, it seemed like the actual fun and games moments, the parts that were part of the journey, they were more interesting than the actual mission of the goal they were trying to attain. But on the other side, the villains in the first one and in this one they can be surface level because they are video game characters. Not that video game characters aren't complex, but and especially this is supposed to be an older video game, it can be sort of just like your regular run-of-the-mill villain. He's played by the guy who plays the Hound in Game of Thrones, so that was really cool. But he's still just kind of this regular, I'm the villain and I'm gonna kill you and all this other stuff. This is starting to prove that a movie isn't as good as its villain. Because you can have a villain that's like whatever, but the movie itself can still be very funny, very fun, very engaging, and interesting. So I thought that, on the one side, you should have a little bit of a villain, and even if, you don't have a strong villain, your stakes should be there. But on the other side, again, it's okay to not have like a very deep villain, especially for something like this that's supposed to be a video game. But that does bring me to my next negative, is that it sort of ties in. The third act for me felt a little flat. It was a little boring, not because, anything was really wrong with it, but like I said, the stakes weren't really there from the beginning, so it's not like there was any sort of sense of relief when you get to the end. Really, their goal is just, again, to get out, but there's this other thing with, they have to try to get this stone back and show it to the sun so that these crops can start to grow again. There's no real, like I said, stakes for the actual characters in that. Not like in the first one where whatever they needed to get helped them get home. So it wasn't like it was really tied to them. And then there's this other thing with this like berry that it comes up like really quickly, and I didn't even notice it. And then it comes back at the end, and it's very convenient. It's very easy. It did not feel like there was that much of an interesting back and forth in the final battle. It felt very flat for me. That being said, the rest of this movie is so interesting and amazing. I loved it. And there's a lot of interesting callbacks and references to other movies. Like they were doing like a whole like homage to a bunch of different movies in this. Some were a little more overt, some were I was guessing at them, but like I saw things from Lawrence of Arabia, things from Catching Fire, the Hunger Games sequel, things from Die Hard and Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, even Ocean's 11. Like there were just all these little things in there that were great. So that was really fun. And the other really great part, again, about these movies, especially, specifically this one, is the character, or the characters, I should say. And it's really interesting that they switch them up, because I was thinking about it, and it's weird because you have characters who, there's like three sides. There's the character itself. There's the person who plays them in the real world and the person who plays them in the video game. And in this one, some people get less screen time in the video game, but more screen time outside. But that means their character gets more screen time in both. It's weird, like if so say, The Rock, he's not playing the same kid he was playing in the first one, so that character gets less screen time, and so does the guy who plays him outside, but The Rock still gets the same amount. It's so weird when you think about it. But the characters overall are so interesting. I mean, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover and their character, maybe not them specifically, but their characters played by Rock and, Kevin Hart, whoever it might be, were very interesting and funny. And it really showed the whole, your grandfather can be a badass when he starts to understand what's going on. And that whole level of, Danny DeVito doesn't want to be old anymore, and he wants to be young again, and he gets to feel that a little bit. So there were some really interesting characterizations and arcs that went on in this movie. And the one specifically that I really liked is Spencer's, the main character, because he wants to go back into Jumanji because he felt like he had power there, like he was cool, he meant something, he had worth there. And I thought that was a really, really great way to take his character, and a really relatable thing, that sometimes you do stupid things. It's like, why would you even think of doing that? But you have this want, you have this desire, and not even desire, but this unfulfillment, something that's getting at you, and you need to do something about it. And so I thought that was a really great thing for his character. I mean, not for his character, he's going to die if he goes in there, but like it was a great motivation, The last thing I will say is Aquafina's in this movie, and that is I love her. I had never actually seen her or anything. I still have to watch The Farewell, but I really like her from just things I've seen about her, speeches she's given, things like that, and she's just great in this movie. So overall, this movie is more complex structurally and in plot, but I think it's a little simpler of a version of the first one. It's a little less thematically complex. There's definitely some deep character moments, but I think they're still a little bit surface level. And really, the big thing for me that didn't quite hit was just the stakes and the final act and kind of their goal, what they needed to do with the battling that villain. The parts that were great for actual entertainment watching were the parts with the characters and they're bantering back and forth. And it's just so much fun to watch The Rock in anything, really. And especially in these movies when he's like making fun of himself. And I mean, he's just a great actor, great guy. These movies are very fun. Check out The Next Level if you haven't seen it. Check out the first one if you haven't seen it. They're very fun family movies. You can sit down and watch them with kids. I'm going to give Jumanji The Next Level a 3 out of 4. Purely because it is just so much fun. And they might be hinting at a third one. We're not quite sure yet. But that'll be really interesting. Thanks for sticking with me again, guys, through all of the non-editing. I promise it'll be funnier now. The next one and a couple ones I'm going to do, I'm just going to hopefully try to keep going with some more recent ones. We got to get more movies up on Netflix and things like that. But hopefully they'll get some new ones out pretty soon. So, as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle.